Hello and welcome to my ongoing series, Roblox Myths Explained. In this series, I talk about various Roblox myths and everything you need to know about them. In today's episode, I'll be talking about Littlenathanial and everything you need to know about him. Special thanks, as usual, to the Myth Community Wiki for providing all the information used in this video. Also, according to YouTube statistics, only a small percentage of people that watch my channel are actually subscribed, so if you end up liking this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button. It's free and you can always change your mind. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Littlenathanial is a Roblox myth that is best known for his various games, the most notable of which is The Thing That Walks With Her. He also has many different alternate accounts with various different games. All of the said games are part of the Littlenathanial myth, just so you know. Along with this, Littlenathanial has been covered by Roblox YouTuber Flamingo in various different videos. This helped him gain traction in the Roblox myth community and become a popular name. I'll get into this later on in the video, so just know that. That's all there is regarding the summary of Littlenathanial. Now let's get into Littlenathanial's history. The history of Littlenathanial dates all the way back to November 2nd, 2015, so less than 6 years ago as of recording this. This is the day that he made his main Roblox account. However, this isn't the only account that Littlenathanial has made, but I'll get into this later. The following day, Littlenathanial created his signature game, The Thing That Walks With Her. I'm also going to be talking about his games later on in the video, so just know that. Another account owned by Littlenathanial, Nathaniel's Dreaming, was created on May 30th, 2016, so almost 5 years ago as of recording this. The following day, a game called Nathaniel's Dreaming's Place was created and developed. Several months after this, Littlenathanial created the account Nathaniel's Mind. For anyone that is curious, that date was August 2nd, 2016. On the same day, a game known simply as Mind was created and developed. Following this, another account called Nathaniel's Nightmares was created. If you haven't caught on to this, all of these accounts are made by Littlenathanial and tell a part of his myth story. Anyway, the game on Nathaniel's Nightmares account, Culmination, was created on October 15th, 2016. After this, another account owned by Littlenathanial, Nathaniel's End, was created. The date this account joined was December 11th, 2016. This was also the 12th birthday of my best friend Jesus. The game made on this account, Nathaniel's End, was created on May 20th, 2017. There are several more games that were made after this, but I won't talk about them right now. Anyways, Littlenathanial became active on his Twitter account on April 8th, 2019. What happened? Littlenathanial updated his bio by adding a link to his Roblox profile and deleted all tweets that contained photos prior to this. He replaced all of them with a now deleted tweet that shows a screenshot from his game Encumbered. However, this game is no longer accessible, so I won't talk about it that much in this video. Anyways, Littlenathanial also posted a now deleted poll to ask people which myths he should collaborate with. Some myths that were on the wheel included Feeling of Zenization, Mr. Realism, and The Ruler of Nothing. I don't know what the results of the poll were, but I assumed it helped to lead to the creation of Consinity. Anyways, Littlenathanial posted a screenshot from an upcoming game that contained a lighthouse and the wheel from the pole in the top right corner. Thankfully, this tweet isn't deleted, so I can show you what it contains. On April 14th of 2019, Littlenathanial made a now deleted tweet that had the caption, "Set foot aside," as well as a photo of the same lighthouse, albeit in a different angle. It also contained photos of a few columns with a gateway and a type of statue. Both of these photos also had the wheel in the top right corner, which probably served as a watermark. It was on May 2nd and May 4th that Littlenathanial made two more tweets that contained 4 different screenshots of either previews of upcoming games or just random screenshots. One of these tweets was deleted later on though. Something important that happened after this was a tweet that was made on May 8th, 2019. The tweet had a screenshot along with the caption that simply read 5/9/19. For anyone that doesn't know, this date is May 9th, 2019. Well, May 9th finally came and a game known as Attainment Failure was released. 2 days after this, Littlenathanial posted a tweet that would, for a while, be his final one. It simply contained a photo of him waving with the caption saying, "Goodbye. Thank you." This told fans that Littlenathanial was either going to leave the Roblox mid community or go on a hiatus. It seemed like it was the latter, as Littlenathanial would end up posting another tweet on October 26th. This tweet contains a clip of one of Littlenathanial's games with flashing lights. I'm gonna play the clip in its entirety, but keep in mind that one might get a seizure from watching this. That being said, proceed at your own risk. So, without further ado, let's play the video. There isn't really anything to break down, so I won't talk about it. Anyways, on March 2nd, 2020, Little Nathaniel revamped the thing that walks on her by adding the contents of Encumbered to it, as well as adding 2 new portals. One of the portals leads to Attainment Failure, while the other leads to the original version of the thing that walks with her. Fast forward over a year later, on April 20th, Little Nathaniel privated every game except Mind and Hello. After some time passed, he made all of the said games public again, and they are now playable. I'll be covering a select few of these games later on, so just know that. Anyway, skipping to August 20th, Little Nathaniel joined the Roblox group Consinity, and has remained a member since then. Little Nathaniel would remain inactive until early 2021, when he would go online again. This caused Roblox YouTuber Poke to make a video on his myths, so go watch that if you haven't already. Anyways, Little Nathaniel was last online around 2 months prior to recording this, so we can say he isn't the most active of myths. As with every myth in the community, there is some lore that one should know about Little Nathaniel. However, since I'm lazy, I'll be reading off the myth community wiki. So, according to the wiki, quote, a boy who thought of himself as less than human. Little Nathaniel lost his mother. He thought of himself as a stranger to the world and unworthy of existence. He paints himself red as a sign of his feelings to himself, a failure and worthy of nothing at all. His tie is also not real. It is drawn on him as a tie as usually worn by people of an upper class and not a creature worthy of nothing. It is called a normal tie, but that's only what he wants it to be. He eventually tries to hang himself, but it fails, and he has a vision where he experiences the truth of life. His brain begins to turn back on as he experiences flashes of colors and lights. He realizes his purpose and it is understood. His story is finished and yours is ready to be written. To break this down, Little Nathaniel doesn't really see anything worthy about himself and feels like a failure. This is mainly shown via his red skin tone. Also, talking about the tie on his avatar, it is not a real tie, but that's what Little Nathaniel is wishing it could be. A real tie. Due to him being in a depression and not feeling worthy, he tries to kill himself but fails. This causes him to get a vision and finally learn about his purpose in life as well as his self-worth. His story has finished due to this, and now it's the player whose story will now be written. Not gonna lie, this is pretty deep and interesting to know. It is true that everyone has a purpose and reason to be alive, and Little Nathaniel has realized this at the end of the myth story. I know this wasn't the best explanation, but at least I tried. There isn't much to say regarding Little Nathaniel's appearance, but I'll talk about it regardless. Little Nathaniel's appearance currently consists of a red skin tone and slightly red head and torso, along with a simplistic bow tie shirt. In my opinion, his avatar is a bit too simple due to the lack of items, but I'll give him some slack and say that one can recognize that the avatar belongs to Little Nathaniel, which is a good thing. I personally give it a 5 out of 10 since it's not the best avatar, but it's also not the worst avatar. With the exception of Nathaniel's Mind and Nathaniel's End, the avatar is pretty much the same throughout all of Little Nathaniel's accounts. The difference for the 2 previously named accounts is that Nathaniel's Mind is mainly grey, while Nathaniel's End has a peach head. Other than that, the appearance is pretty consistent in regards to style. There's not that much to say about Little Nathaniel's personality, but I'll talk about it regardless. Regarding Little Nathaniel's personality, he is known to talk in-game and on his 2 Twitter accounts, albeit not that often. He has also answered questions that people send through DMs, although this is also rare. This also makes sense as Little Nathaniel isn't very active on any platform, if at all. There isn't that much to say regarding his personality, but I still felt like talking about it. As mentioned before, Little Nathaniel has several different games on various Roblox accounts. In order, the games are The Thing That Walks With Her, Nathaniel's Dreaming Place, Mind, Culmination, Nathaniel's End, Hello, The Book of the Journey, Attainment Failure, and The Thing That Walks With Her. Just so the viewer knows, there are 2 different games called The Thing That Walks With Her. Anyway, the most popular of the 9 games is The Thing That Walks With Her, with over 151,000 plays visits at the time of writing this. I know it sounds stupid whenever I say The Thing That Walks With Her, but just know, there are 2 different games, and I'll show the screenshots so that you guys understand what I'm talking about. Because I don't want to make this video an hour long, I'll only be covering 2 of Little Nathaniel's games. The 2 games I've chosen are Culmination and Nathaniel's End. I will talk about the first, The Thing That Walks With Her, but it's just a hub that contains portals to other games. That being said, I'll start off by talking about Culmination. So, the player spawns in the middle of a group of scattered islands with watercolored pipes. I know they aren't pipes, but I don't know how else to describe them. Anyway, something to expect is that the player will sometimes move by itself when the player is not controlling it. This is supposed to represent the fact that culmination is a nightmare and that the dream controls wherever you go. I'll get more into this later on in the video, so just know that. Even though there doesn't seem to be much, there are quite a few things that one can find. First off, when the player jumps off the end of the path they're forced to walk to, a portal will open up. This portal will teleport you to a new island that is floating above all of the main islands in the game. Touching the portal will teleport the player to the aforementioned island. From here, there is a hole on the side of the island that one can go inside. This will open up another area in the game, which is signaled via the in-game music slowing down. This new area contains a path with 2 buildings that one can enter and a tree, as well as ending at a hole. When one hovers their mouse at the bottom of the said tree, one can see a click detector. It's unknown as to why this is the case, but it doesn't matter that much. Anyways, the player can go to the hole and jump through it, and this will trigger another area that has the resemblance of a train. This area also has a path that ends at a stone structure, which is also important. When one jumps on top of this stone structure, it'll trigger a new area that is accessible via the train-shaped structure. Don't worry if you don't make it to the top right away. It'll take some people multiple tries before doing so. This new area is a maze that is in one of two states, normal or inverted. The player will get either of these at random, so they won't know which one they get right away. If one gets an inverted maze, which is signified via the maze coming up from the ocean, as well as trees being on the roof, they won't be able to progress any further and the game will end there. If the player gets the normal maze, then there will be a hole inside the maze that one can enter. To summarize the rest of the game up, more islands are triggered at various spots in the map, and it'll end at a structure that the player can jump on top of. Doing so will teleport the player to a game called Nathanial's Nightmares Place. This game will end at a hole that, when entered, will trap the player. Since the only way to get out is resetting, the player will have to do so. Other than that, there isn't much else to see in Culmination. In my opinion, Culmination is a pretty interesting game that has a lot of secrets and lore that one can discover. The fact that the player will sometimes walk by itself may throw some off, but it's actually a part of the myth score. Once the player finds this out, the game will make more sense. As I said before, the second and final game that I'll be covering is Nathaniel's End. This game is the one on the Nathaniel's End account, which makes sense. The game was made on May 28, 2017, and was last updated on January 25, 2020, so over a year as of recording this, so I'll be talking about what can be found in game since that's what I do. So, the player spawns on an island that seems as if it doesn't contain much, however this isn't the case. As one can see, there is a pillar right in front of the spawn that, one touch, will open a new area of the game. The player can go back to the spawn and enter the new area, which is to the right of said area. This new area contains a pair of stairs that leads to a statue of who I am assuming to be an entity or something. Going behind the statue and touching it will open up a new area that is right across from the current area the player is in. This new area contains some gravestone looking things as well as a very thin path that the player can walk on. Something that the player might not know is that there is yet another trigger that can be accessed by touching the back of one of the grass covered rocks. Doing so will open up yet another area of the game that is in front of the statue in the spawn area. The player can walk to the new area, and a flight of stairs will have to be taken in order to reach a small area. The said area contains a couple ruins that also have a trigger. Touching the back of the ruins will open up yet another area that can be accessed right next to the said area. I'm saying area a lot because there is a lot of areas in this game. This new area contains more gravestone looking things that are sticking out of the ground as well as a few ruins that look pretty cool. Touching one of the stone pillars hanging off of the island will open up yet another area that can be accessed. This new area is just some ruins that look like it was part of a box shaped building or something. When you touch the end of this path, a box looking place will pop up, which is floating in the sky. However, it is possible to teleport over here. The player has to jump off the edge of the ruins and they will get teleported inside of here. This area resembles a Greek temple in my opinion in regards to its material and shape. If one looks, they can notice that there is a moving white box that doesn't seem to do anything when touched. I know that there is a game that one can teleport to through Nathaniel's End, but I don't know how to get there. One thing I'm gonna say is that there are 5 possible maps that the player can get every time they join. A Roblox YouTuber by the name of Corky made a series going through every map and what they contain, so make sure to go watch the series if you haven't already. It's still relevant since the game hasn't been updated in over a year prior to uploading this video. In my opinion, Nathaniel's End is a pretty cool game that, just like Culmination, has various secrets that one can discover. I also find it interesting how there are 5 different maps that one can get. There aren't that many myths like that, so I give Littlenathanial some credit for this. I would have covered every single game that Littlenathanial made, but that would make this video like an hour long, and no one will want to watch that. There are some theories about the Little Nathaniel myth that have been made. As one might know, theories are explanations that have been created to explain unusual activity. So without further ado, let's get into the theories. The first theory is that the game Attainment Failure is a representation of Little Nathaniel losing his sanity. The first piece of evidence is that Attainment Failure contains a lot of weird and nightmarish things such as creatures, creepy visuals, and disturbing music. I can understand these factors representing Nathaniel slowly becoming insane. The second piece of evidence is that most of Little Nathaniel's games represent real-life issues that people have. Therefore, this game would not be any different. The third and final piece of evidence to support this theory is that there is a monster at the end of the game that kicks the player when touched. This most likely represents the moment that Little Nathaniel has completely lost his sanity. The second theory is that culmination represents a nightmare. The first piece of evidence is that the weirdly shaped islands in the game gives one a feeling of discomfort. I personally understand this as the islands do not look normal at all. The second piece of evidence is that the islands and its features are all very rigid, especially the water. Normal terrain would not be as jagged or rigid, let alone oddly shaped. The third piece of evidence to support this theory is that the final area of the game consists of the player being buried in a pit. This signifies death in a supposed nightmare, which can definitely creep some people out. The fourth and final piece of evidence to support this theory is that the name of the account that owns Culmination, Nathaniel's Nightmare, suggests this as well. I mean, the name gives it away. The third and final theory is that the game, The Thing That Walks With Her, is the center of Little Nathaniel's life. The first piece of evidence to support this theory is that the game contains various portals that leads to other games about Little Nathaniel's life. To be honest, this makes sense, as this is a hub for lots of other games relating to Little Nathaniel's myth. The second and final piece of evidence is that typing the date that Little Nathaniel made his account, which is November 2nd, 2015, will generate new land in the game. This could also represent new life being created. These are pretty interesting theories that have some merit to them, which makes them somewhat credible. Just like every other big myth in the community, there is trivia that one should know about Little Nathaniel. As one might know, trivia is just extra facts that are relevant enough to make it onto the video. So without further ado, let's get into the trivia. The first piece of trivia is that Little Nathaniel has ended his myth several times, but then he brings it back. I don't understand why he chose to do this, but it's his myth, therefore he can do what he wants with it. The second piece of trivia is that Little Nathaniel has two different Twitter accounts. He made the first one in December of 2016 and created the second one in December of 2018. Little Nathaniel used both accounts to post screenshots of upcoming games. This becomes obvious when one looks at both of the accounts. The third piece of trivia is that there is a recurring appearance of a statue within Little Nathaniel's games, and the said statue will even kill the player in some games. This statue is meant to represent death, as shown in Little Nathaniel's game Hello. The said statue also makes it clear that death will always follow the player. The fourth piece of trivia is that the owner of the Little Nathaniel account has gone on record saying that there was originally no story for the myth. According to him, he made the game The Thing That Walks With Her out one day and came up with the story later on. So that proves that not every myth knows their story right away. The fifth and final piece of trivia is that Roblox YouTuber Flamingo has made fun of Little Nathaniel in one of his videos. Specifically, Albert joked that Little Nathaniel was a rapper and proceeded to perform a song that Nathaniel had made. This, of course, isn't true, and it's just Albert being Albert. To wrap this all up, Little Nathaniel is a Roblox myth that is best known for his various different Roblox myth games, as well as his various different alternate accounts, and being covered by Roblox YouTubers Flamingo and Poke. He is one of the more popular myths in the community, and has been investigated by various Roblox myth hunting groups. His story dates all the way back to November 2nd, 2015, and developed his various different games following this. Little Nathaniel has also made various different accounts a while after the creation of his main account. A story is told throughout the various different games, a majority of which seem to talk about real-life issues and mental problems. Every single one of these games have secrets that allow the player to progress further into the myth story, so that is something to note. Some of these games have even accumulated over 100,000 plays visits, which means that they're not small games. Several theories have been made to explain the story behind the games, some of which even have some merit to them. Little Nathaniel has used Twitter to keep up with his fans as well as tease upcoming games. All of this being said, Little Nathaniel will forever be a popular Roblox myth, and that's everything.